The last thing I'm going to do before I put my Simplicity Regent away for the winter is check the hydrostatic fluid in the Transaxle. This is something I normally would not do, but I've been getting quite a few people asking about it, so I'm going to show you what it takes to check the fluid level and then change it if you desire to do so. Now, most every one of these transaxles that's put into consumer grade and even professional grade lawn tractors and zero turns is made by a company called Tuff Torq. They've got a great website. You should check it out if you go into the support section and then find your Transaxial. It gives a lot of good information on that. So I've done that. They say for residential applications, basically don't worry about servicing this. However, if you do change the oil on it, it will extend the life of it. So I'm a little bit torn myself, but I'm going to see what it takes to get in there and actually do it. And that's the hard part here because it is buried underneath the top. So Tuff Torq says what they recommend doing is removing the Transaxial from the lawn tractor to service it. I'm going to try something different. I'm going to remove the top here and see if we can't access the top of that Transaxial. So the first thing we're going to do on our Simplicity here is remove these two bolts under the seat. All right, the next set of bolts we have to loosen up are under the footwell here. You can see right here. We need to remove those on both sides, one on each side. So that does not pass through. There we go. You just have to grab this piece out of the tank so you can get the cap off. Set that over to the side here. So I've actually decided to take off these rubber guards here, and there's quite a bit of grass under there yet, so I'm glad I did that. And I've got things nice and warm here in the garage with the heater, and that pulled up from above fairly decent. I wasn't worried about breaking it all, so I'm going to take the other one off. The other thing this does allow me to access the carriage bolt here, the top of it, to take it out. So I'm going to take this side off too. If you just kind of start at a corner and you'll get to one of these knobs and just kind of gently work at it, it'll pop up through the hole. You can't just grab this thing and reef on it. You're going to pull off those tabs. But if it's warm and flexible and try to get as much support around that as possible and gently work it, should pop off for you. All right. To lighten the load a little bit, I'm going to take the seat off. It's getting more and more complicated here. Like I said, if it were just me, I wouldn't be doing this. Other people have asked what it takes, so I've decided to try it. But I can tell you already, it's a pain in the butt. But that's how you remove the seat. Yeah, now as I suspected, I can't lift it up over this handle here, so I'm going to have to try to figure out how to get this thing off. Just pull it off. all right. And we're exposed to the workings of the lawn tractor. The next step here, obviously, to get to our hydro is to remove our gas tanks. Looks like these 4 bolts on this hold down, and hopefully we can kind of pivot it out of the way there. Well, we've made it to our hydrostatic transmission, and what we're after is this black plug here that's below the fan and the pulley. So what the Tuff Torq manual says to do is remove the fan and the pulley, so it looks like we've got a snap ring up top. But first we gotta get our belt off. And we've got a spring tensioner on there, so we can take up some slack here, get that off. Now, if you've got an older tractor, obviously you would inspect the condition of the belt. This would be the time to replace this. Mine only has 60 hours on it, so I have no concerns over that belt. Things are good to go there. So now we need a snap ring pliers to remove that snap ring. All right, this is what we need right here. These little tangs go in the holes of the snap ring. All right. Looky, looky. All right, so we've made it to the famous black cap here. There's some dirt and that stuff around there, so I'm going to take this time to blow some of that off with the air compressor. Here's our famous black cap, so we need to pry this up. Now this plug is obviously not made to be removed easily, so I'm having a bit of a time with it here. This is the best way I found to get at prying that plug up, is putting my hammer below here, putting the screwdriver underneath back towards the engine. Now that allowed me to finally get between the housing and that plug and gain some there we go. There, it's coming. So interesting, we've got a magnet in there first thing when looking at our plug here. And there's definitely some metal on it. See that? There's definitely some metal shavings on it that it's catching, so it's doing its job. We'll clean that off. I'll show you how to check the fluid. So per the Tuff Torq manual, this fluid level should be 20 millimeters to 25 millimeters below the face of the housing here. So 25 millimeters, that's basically 1 inch. So I'm gonna take a toothpick here and just hold my fingers here, dip it in there. And I'm gonna make sure my fingers don't move and I can see the fluid level here. So I'm gonna measure from my fingers to that fluid level, and it's basically right at 1 inch, if you can see that. So my fluid level is good. It's just maybe a 1/16 below 1 inch. So that fluid level is perfect for this. Based on the metal shavings, and since I have it apart to this point anyway, I might just change the fluid. The other thing you want to be careful for here, you can see when I was tapping that in, I got a little overzealous and I punctured this seal when I was taking it out. So I don't know how big of a difference that will make. You can see the actual part that seals is this rubber here. But anyway, it's worth Be careful when you're tapping your screwdriver in under that face, not to go too far, like I did, and puncture that seal. I'm just going to set that in there temporarily as I look for a place to drain it. Now, according to the online manual, they say to basically remove this from the machine and tip this upside down and drain out of this hole. But that's obviously not real practical. I may suck out what I can, but I'd prefer to drain it because heavy material would tend to be at the bottom, and that would go with it instead of sucking up that oil. Replacing that oil is good, so it's more of an aging or viscosity breakdown that we're addressing with sucking that fluid out, which is a molecular breakdown of the oil that happens over use and time, which I'm not necessarily addressing here. It's more of a cleanliness issue, so I'd really prefer to drain from the bottom and hopefully flush out any metal particles that may be in there. So if I take a look on the other side at the hydro, we can take a look at the bottom of it. You know, I guess the only obvious thing that would be a drain to me is this bolt here. Okay, let's see what happens here when I take this bolt out. All right, we're draining very slowly. I'm gonna remove the plug and top and see if that changes anything. All right, that definitely made a change. It was vacuum locked there, so we are successfully draining. All right, as I show in the Simplicity manual, this hydro calls for premium 10W30, so I got Mobile 1 1030 here. I got 2 quarts. What I found on the Tuff Torq website is this takes 2 liters. So a liter is basically a quart to a couple decimal places. So we're gonna put these 2 quarts in here and check the level. So I'm gonna use the same method. I'm going to pinch the toothpick, put it down to my finger. I can see the level now on here, take a measure. I'm at 7/8 of an inch. So I know the oil level in the manual or in the Tuff Torq says 20 to 25 millimeters. Okay, I have my level set, so magnet back in. So back on goes the fan. Put our wave washer down. Pulley. And our snap ring. Move our gas tank back. Now I wish we were done, but we're not. We need to bleed the air out of the hydro and then check the level again to top it off if required. So per Tuff Torq manual, what we need to do is go full forward, actuate the transport mode with this lever on the back several times while holding this. Do the same for reverse, then go full forward, full reverse a few times until operation is smooth. All right, so what I resorted to was taking the switch off the seat and just putting a toothpick in there while pushing that down. So I'm gonna connect this. That should allow me to run it with the brake off. All right, that should be it. Now I gotta check the level again and top it off if required. There's the moment of truth. Do I need to add any or not? And it looks like I need to add just a splash, not much at all. I think you could probably get away with filling it just a touch high before doing the air bleed and then leaving it alone, but let's add a little bit here. All right, we're perfect now. We were just at 7/8 of an inch, which is between 20 and 25 millimeters, so that's perfect. Gonna get this thing put back together now. All right, that's where she's gonna live for the winter. We took care of the deck. We put the graphite coating on the underside. We sharpened the blades, cleaned the air filter, and serviced the transaxle. So that's it. Honestly, everything went back together pretty well for the transaxle service. However, if somebody hadn't asked how you do it, I would have done that, and I don't think I'm gonna do it again. I don't think it's worth the level of effort. I think the rest of the lawn tractor is probably going to degrade. The mower deck, things like that are going to wear out at about the same time as that transaxle. So are we really gaining life of the overall mower for that effort with the transaxle? Well, we'll see. But in my opinion, probably not worth it, but now you know how to do it. If you like this sort of thing, consider subscribing to my channel. Put in the comments anything you'd like to see. We'll take it from there. Thanks for watching. Adios. Look at this. Went from doing the last mow of the season last weekend to a couple inches of snow this weekend. So I'm glad I got that last mow in. But a bunch of leaves did fall last week that are underneath the snow now. So hopefully this melts off and I'll get a chance to clean those up. But we'll see. We can't control Mother Nature.